Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, back again. Look here, y'all. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about when I was on Max. This was years ago, man. When I first came into the prison system, I was put on maximum security, uh, primarily because I had another trial that I was going to where I was being tried for the death penalty. So the people that reclassed me or determined that I should be put on max had pretty much decided that I was more than likely going to get the death penalty and that I should be on maximum security, just, you know what I'm saying, as a not as a precaution, but just to get me used to being in a confined environment, right? But I'm going to tell you about one of the things that happened to me when I was on max. Because you'll be surprised at some of the things that go on Max, and I think this show is going to be one of those examples of the things that go on, you know what I'm saying, on Max that a lot of people are going to be surprised of. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, y'all. Yeah, y'all know what's going on. It's me. Check this out. When I was on Max, right, we always had something going on. This is about after 6 months of me being on Max. I got, you know what I'm saying, introduced to the guys back there. There was a lot of people back there that I got cool with. And when you're on Max, you smoke a lot of weed, y'all. Smoke a lot of weed because you're trying to, numb yourself to what's going on and the psychological games that the police are playing with you on a daily basis, things like denying your toilet paper. Because when you're on Max, you're in a cell 23 hours a day. You come out to take a shower and do some rec time. But basically everything that you have, everything that you get, everything that's given to you is given to you by an officer that's working in that pod. And if they don't want to give it to you, you're not going to get it. So, like I said, a lot of weed smoking is going on. But here's the thing: to get something on Max is a challenge. It's a challenge. And one of the things that we got on Max a lot, like I say, back in the day, it wasn't nothing about no cell phones, because cell phones weren't even invented at that time. And if those that were invented, what I'm saying, the small cell phone, you had the big long box type cell phone. But that didn't stop things from going on Max. You had liquor back there. You had, like I said, you had weed and all kinds of other drugs that, people would get in. And one of the ways that we would get drugs in back in the day was through the TV. Now, I know you're thinking, like, how did they get stuff in through the TV? Because you look at most of the TVs today and they're flat screens, right? But that's not what we had back in the day. We had what you call a bubble TV. Just think about, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google a television set back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Google, when you go online, Google a television set. What did a TV look like in 1991, 1992? And you're going to see that it's a big contraption that, and specifically 13-inch or 11-inch, but it's still a big contraption that you have that's way different than what you have today. And that's, how the move was made. We would get those TVs, get them filled with weed and drugs and stuff like that because there was so much space inside them. Then you get the TV brought to the prison. Now, back in the day, you didn't have to have it mailed. You can have a family member drop it off, right? They drop it off up front. They would take it. They would scan it, X-ray it and all of that, right? But you could put it in there in a way to where that it looked like, it belonged in there. So, but this is what happened. Before you do that, you got to convince the people that you're dealing with that this is something worth doing. I never did it, and I never let anybody use my name to do it. I'm not crazy, you know what I'm saying? But there were a lot of people back there that they got taken advantage of. That's just the bottom line. They wanted a TV, or they needed money, or they wanted drugs. And to get those types of things, you have to be willing to give something. And the situations back in the day, it was you have to be willing to allow somebody to use you to have a TV bought to the prison for. Right? So once you recruited somebody that had all of these needs, you made your deal. Now you had to make the arrangements. It was hard to make the arrangement because you got a phone that they roll around to everybody in the pod. Then everybody gets to use the phone at different times. And the phone calls can last anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. And it's just depending on who's in the pod. But you got to be careful when you talk on the phones when you're on Max because they are listening to the phones when you talk. So most of the time you will wait until you went to visit and there was a non-contact visit behind the glass so you could pretty much say what you wanted to say. Or you had a way to say it in a way that nobody else would know what you're saying other than the person that would be receiving the mail. You know, we did a lot of that, you know, back in the day. You write somebody. Again, we didn't have cell phones. And a lot of the things that went on, it took a while to get them taken care of because you didn't have those quick ways of communicating that you have today. So, I remember this one guy, man. I remember this one guy. He was desperate. He was desperate for, you know, some weed. And my partner, the one that had the plug on getting the TVs and the weed in, and I just bought my weed from him. He was like, "Look," I told him about the dude that was trying to get some weed, and he was like, "Look, tell dude I'd give him an ounce of weed if he let me get, you know what I'm saying, some weed in through a TV in his name." So keep in mind, the only time you can communicate on Max with any privacy, and it's really not that much privacy at all, is when you go out onto the rec pen. And the rec pen is just cages, individual cages that you go by. 8 people can go out at a time, right? So I would have to make sure that I went out with this person or that person. And when they come around in the morning after they serve breakfast, they'll say, "You going to rec, you going to rec, you going to rec." And whatever order that's in, that's what it's going to be. You see what I'm saying? So you got to time it to where the person that might live 10 cells away from you can go out at the same time that you go. So you have to communicate and yell and back and forth and get people to deny that they, you know, going to rec so that you could be in the same group of the person that you want to get out there and talk to. So that's what me and him did. So I'm out there in the cage and I tell him, I said, "Look, I can make sure that you get that ounce free. But what you have to do is allow, you know what I'm saying, a TV to be sent in your name. And it's going to have weed in it. When the TV comes in, you take the TV. When you take the TV after the police gone, you open it up, right? And how we would open it up, you know, because you didn't get to have tools or nothing like that on Max. We would have a little contraption that we could form out of like the end of an ink pen, you know, the ink pens that you can put on a clip on your shirt. That metal piece, you take that and fashion it down a little bit, and then you got a screwdriver, okay? Anyway, once he got the pack inside the TV, he would open it up, take out the weed, let us know, keep the TV, send the whole pack out, because we got to make sure it's legit, and then we would make sure that he would get the ounce, you know what I'm saying, within a few minutes, because it was a rock man that ran around in the pod in the afternoon that we'd be able to pay him to take this to the other cell, because the doors had a little space under the door so you could slide it under the door. You know what I mean? Other than that, you'd have to wait till the officer comes around when they pick up trays and lower the flap, and then you can put it in the tray, and then the rock man will take the tray and throw it in the trash and get it out when the officer's not looking, so they can take it around and drop it off to the guy that you got to pay. So anyway, this particular time, right, we had everything coming in, everything was moving good, and the guy had a change of heart. He decided instead of doing what he said he was going to do, he's going to keep the TV and the pack. The man said he's going to keep the TV and the pack, right? And there's really no way to get to him. If he decides not to come out on that rec yard, there's no way that you can get to him. No way, shape, or form that you can get to him. But what he didn't understand is that sometime or another he's going to have to come out, whether it be the shower or whatever. Usually, the rock man that would be out cleaning up in the morning, he'd be one of the guys. But they had to clean up and then go back in. Or when they called somebody moving to the shower or the rec yard or going out to see the unit manager or the counselor or whatever, they would make the rock man go into the broom closet and shut the door so that they wouldn't have access and it'd be safe passage for the person that's being escorted out. So this one day, after dude done kept the pack, he done kept a quarter pound, that's 4 ounces of weed. I'm talking about some red hairs too, y'all. Back in the day, that's what was popping. I don't know nothing about all this new stuff that they got going on these days, but they had some red hair scents and it was fire. All right, that was in my backsliding days, y'all. I smoked back then, you know. So anyway, he had to come out and go see the counselor. So, bruh, he ran into the broom closet because the police told him to, but he didn't shut the door all the way. He left it cracked. So when the police officer when the corrections officer had the guy right at the door, here come folks. He busts up out of there with that thing. Police get out the way. I mean, all the way out the way. He popped dude one time right there in his shoulder blade. He tried to hit him in the neck, but he hit him right there in the shoulder blade. Dude dropped down on his knees and started begging. And by then, the officer, he's behind bruh. So he popped bruh and bruh dropped the knife. That's the only thing to save dude. It's the only thing to save dude because folks was finna kill him. Now, again, that's the kind of stuff that goes on Max. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day. I think it's a little tighter than that these days. They learned from what we did, the stupid stuff that we did, how to better secure that area. They've changed a lot of things. Like I say, we got the flat screen TV and they see through. You can't get nothing. You know what I'm saying? When they getting ready to escort somebody out of a cell, they lock everything down. Ain't nobody coming out. Nobody coming out. But that's how it is, y'all. It's still violent back there. And things still do go on, right? But like I said before, if you about that life, one of the things in here that you have to learn is that your word is all you got. Your word is all you got. And this brother, he gave his word that he would do something, keeping in mind it is crooked. I know how they say, no honor amongst thieves and all of that old kind of stuff, right? But in here, consequences are immediate and they are close and personal. So if you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it, don't be surprised that if you find yourself on the other end of a butcher. That's the lifestyle choice that you're choosing. That's the lifestyle choice that you're choosing. And that's why I say to choose this as a way of living, as a lifestyle. It's flawed on the face. It's flawed on the face and it's super duper dangerous. It's not something that you should relish and want to do. But again, you know, we're all grown and we all have sovereignty over the decisions that we make. God gave us that. So when you make your decision, make sure that you're calculating all of the things that come with that. And I would recommend that you walk away from this type of lifestyle. Because if you're the type of person that don't like to keep your word, you're already going down the wrong road. You're already going down the wrong road. Just wanted to drop that on y'all. Y'all know what's going on. Y'all know what's going on out there, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.